Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz was obviously the headline of UFC 259 this weekend, and Jan Blachowicz won by a unanimous decision. Now, there's a couple of ways you can look at this. One, there was a couple of 10-8 rounds in there from a few judges which didn't really make much sense, but ultimately they don't matter. So we'll park that to one side for the minute. Izzy was not blown away by Jan Blachowicz. That fight was extremely even, apart from 2 takedowns. That was it. If there was no takedowns in that fight, we'd be sitting here either talking about Israel Adesanya being the light heavyweight champion, or we'd be talking about just how close he was to being the light heavyweight champion, or it would probably be a draw. But I need everyone to understand, and if you obviously follow the sport, you'll know this, but that was the only thing in the fight that won Jan Blachowicz that fight. 2 takedowns in 2 rounds. If Israel Adesanya was up the first 3 rounds, he'd have won. It's as simple as that. So, does this hurt Israel Adesanya? No, I don't think it hurts him. He wasn't knocked out. He wasn't soundly beaten. It wasn't a smashing. He did a good account of himself against a larger man. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. Everyone loses. Everyone. Except for Khabib. But if he keeps going, he will. If you go long enough, you lose, and that's the way it is. Floyd Mayweather's the only exception. But in MMA, it's a little bit different. It does not matter if you lose. If you lose a couple, maybe, but not really. Look at Conor McGregor. This hasn't hurt Israel Adesanya as much as we thought it would. All that will happen, he'll go back up to middleweight, he'll beat his next contender, and this will all be a distant memory. As for Jan Blachowicz, I think this has improved his stock. There's no way it hasn't. Was the fight, a masterful piece of performance by Jan Blachowicz? No. Did he do what he had to win? Yes. Is that in some sense the mark of a champion? Yes. How many times when we watch Man City play and they just about get the job done or just about get the result, but they didn't play that well, it's the mark of a champion. Jan Blachowicz went out there and did what he had to do, and he hands Israel Adesanya his very first loss in MMA, and that says something. That's worth something. But I still have my reservations about Jan Blachowicz as a superstar. I don't know if he carries that sort of mystique. I don't think his name is that heavy yet. And when he fights Glover Teixeira, is his name going to be heavier because he beat a 41-year-old guy? No. And that kind of feeds into the problem with the division. And I guess that's a rant I've had 3 or 4 different times, so I'll spare you with the details. But well done to Jan Blachowicz. He got the job done, and he beat an extremely impressive rising star. Israel Adesanya will return to middleweight. He will win one more fight. This will be a distant memory, and the show goes on.